Good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. This morning I'm travelling to meet a local photographer who is hopefully going to be teaching me new skills. So join me this morning and let's see where the journey takes us. Okay, good morning. So I finally found Rona. Rona is the local expert I was talking about earlier, who's going to teach me how to do intentional camera movement this morning, which uses the acronym ICM. So thanks very much to Rona for volunteering to help. I actually mentioned you last week, Rona, when I was in Port Knocky with Bruce, because Bruce was trying to take a kind of zoom effect at Bowfiddle Rock, and none of the two of us could work out the camera settings and how to do it, so hopefully I'll learn more this morning.
Fingers crossed. So
when you look at ICM, what is the camera settings that you use for ICM?
I tend to work between half a second and a second, and then with an ND filter between sort of 4 and 6.
So right away this morning I've made the schoolboy error where I brought an ND filter but I didn't have the screw ring to put on the end of the camera. So I'll have to try and learn without an ND filter. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for different locations. We'll try and get various examples for various colours, trees, backgrounds, and we'll show you the images as we go along. Okay, so we're going to use this tree as an example for an ICM. So Rona, how do we use this tree for ICM?
I think the fun at ICM is there's no real plan,
right?
And it is just experiment and see what happens. Normally with trees people will try a vertical movement, but I quite often will do a combination of vertical and a little shudder movement. So really it is just about playing and see what happens. But the light is beautiful, and the main thing is you're looking for contrast and light and interesting shapes.
Doing your ICM there, Rona, what technique are you having to use?
At the moment I'm sort of doing just a little bit of a vertical movement and then a bit of a shudder to get some movement in the leaves. And it's just quite a small movement.
So what settings have you got on your camera just now?
At the moment I'm on f9, 1/8 of a second, ISO 100.
And you can have f9 because you've got an ND filter on. Right, so I'll give this a wee try. So for my settings, because I've got no ND filter, I'm on f22. I've reduced my ISO to 50 and I've got a second. So am I sweeping up or am I just slowly going up and then shaking the camera?
Try both.
Okay, so I'll sweep up first. Wow, it's just a mass. So if I go a wee bit slower, that's better. So if I now do a sweep and a shake. Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. And you can even take that down probably to half a second.
To half a second. Let's try that. Oh, a wee bit, that's better from my colour point of view. Oh, I haven't quite got the shake. Try that again. I see. So it changes the sweep of the verticals.
Changes the texture.
I see what you mean, every shot's different.
Totally, you'll never be able with this technique to replicate.
And then sometimes I must have shook too much because I've got like a circular swirl.
Yep, I'll do that deliberately sometimes.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's quite cool actually.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice coming into the corner.
Yeah.
Right. I can see why this is you either like it or you don't, because people probably won't relate to what it is you've taken a photograph of.
Not at all. But again, that depends on your movement.
Right.
Because the smaller the movement, the more you retain of the subject.
Ah.
The bigger the movement.
And so for you as a rule of thumb, do you go for dark subjects or light subjects?
I don't really have a rule of thumb.
Right.
But if I do, I go for colour.
Colour. So it's really experimental.
Yeah.
Right. But you've got the knack and you know the right movement, the right timing.
It's all experimentation. There's no right, there's no wrong. And you will have to take a lot of images.
Right.
to get something that...
Right, okay. Well, let's move on and find another location. So we've come up a path and we've got a dark pathway and we've got some of the light shining in through the trees. So what Rona suggested was, I've set my timer to 1/3 of a second, f22 ISO 50. If I zoom in and then you suggest a wee shake,
Yeah, wee shudder.
a wee shudder, let's try it. Oh, I've got a dirty lens. I've got a wee heat spot. So I was saying to Rona earlier, this is the lightest I've ever been. I've only got a wee camera bag because normally I've got everything. So it's quite weird not having the comfort of having everything at hand. Right, I'll try that again. A wee shudder. Oh wow. That is really cool actually.
Yeah, that's lovely because you've got the light and you've still got good definition of the trees.
It is definitely, it does look like a painting, but a fuzzy painting.
Yeah.
And I take it when you go into your post-processing, you can pull up the saturation if you want and just exaggerate the colours.
Yeah.
Right, because there's some really cool photos that you post on Instagram that you've got, it's like trees, but then you've got like multiple colours, and I go, how do you do that? Because it's really soft.
Yeah, I don't do a lot. I tweak the saturation.
Right.
But unless I do an odd creative edit where I do something completely different, most of it is just tweaks.
Well, and it is all out of camera.
Yes, it's most of what I do is single shot.
Do you know what's interesting? Because I can see that. So I'm taking this image and it's not your quality that's on your Instagram feed, but the style is your style. It's like Gary Quinn in Light Painting Scotland. What those guys do
That's phenomenal.
at night from a single shot, it's hard to believe, you know, and it kind of blows your mind when you try to figure out how they do it. Right, so if we keep experimenting, so the canopy of the trees there,
Yep, because you've got the blues and the light.
so would you suggest the kind of shake, or would it be a kind of vertical movement?
Try both and see.
Try both. Let's try that. Oof, totally washed out because I upped my settings. So I've dropped my shutter speed to a 1/6. I take it, that's quite nice. Quite wishy-washy though. Try the vertical. Mine's is definitely better in darker areas because I haven't got the ND filter. But the good thing is you can see actually the darker ones. I've just took a shot of that bush and the darker ones are quite mystical, aren't they?
And if you can get the light trails going through it as well, that can give an
Try that again. I like the kind of side to side movement. The one that I liked when I tried it back there was the circular effect. I'll try that. See, it's wavy. It's like a wisp of the trees. It's actually quite nice. It's really interesting because we've been focusing here, we've got the browns of the leaves and we've got the greens of some of the trees, but as soon as you introduce a yellow, it changes your photograph again. Oh wow, every picture's different.
And that's the beauty of it for
Yeah,
me.
wow. Well, Bruce would have loved this, because I can just imagine the two as if we had known this last week, you could have seen the mess we could have made of both of the rock. Right, brilliant. Well, so we'll move and find another location. So we've just walked further down the forest trail and we've got two paths. So we've just stood and taking a few shots, some with a shake, some with a swirl, and we've also been trying and experimenting with zoom. What do you call that, Rona?
I think it's called zoom burst.
Zoom burst. So I'm going to do a quick zoom burst just now, and then I'll show the camera what we mean by a zoom burst. So that's the zoom burst. If I go back a couple of images, there's more examples of zoom bursts. And then this is the kind of shake effect you get. That's the vertical ICM effect you get. That's a nice one, a swirl. Because what we were talking about was, I can understand why Rona goes for different colour schemes, because you're doing those special effects. If you've got the same colours, your photographs start to look quite similar, even though the effects are different.
Yeah.
But the difference is Rona's got an ND filter on, so her colours are much better saturated than mine. So we're going to look for other things and see if we can experiment more. So as we've been walking along, we've just spotted a bright red tree. So we've taken some shots and we've tried to experiment with the shakes, the twists, the zooms. But I've also got these big green leaves on the left hand side. So I'm going to try an effect using the leaves and see how that looks against the backdrop of the red. And it's quite different, it's interesting. I was saying to Rona, what I'm seeing is, as you're closer to a subject, you sometimes get a bit of definition. Whereas when you normally do the ICM, it's either blurred or circular or vertical, or you get that blend of colours. And it's actually, it's true. It's quite interesting. Because you're right, I think you're going to have to go through a lot of these pictures to see what ones you like. But it's nice having the red, because the red breaks up the colours. Because this morning, most of the colours have been green and brown and yellow, but it's great to get a different... We were actually walking along a path and we were just talking about if we got a wee burst of red, that'd be nice. So we've now got a red tree that's kind of helped give us a wee bit variation and variety. And I'm still trying to figure out, from a technique point of view, what works and what doesn't work, but it's a completely different technique. It's also a different viewpoint as well. So where I'm used to just taking stills and images of landscapes, this is really creative. I'm trying to think of the word. It's abstract.
Yes, very.
Abstract.
It can be. I think it depends on, again, how abstract you want the image or how much you want to retain bits of the subject. And again, that depends on how you play with your shutter speed.
The bit that struck me is, now I've tried it and now I'm moving the camera, there's a lot of images you post on Instagram I actually thought you'd painted. Or you use a filter in Photoshop for a paint effect, but now I've tried it, I see that's rubbish, because you're actually doing it straight in camera and you're getting that effect. It is actually, I like it actually, it's nice. And it makes some really good canvases for Christmas.
Well.
So I'm just standing down at the side of the loch. This is the Airthray Loch at Stirling University. There's a whole bunch of algae on the water. I think, what was it, Rona? Blue algae?
I think it's blue.
But when we were walking towards the loch, we thought it was frost. So what I'm doing is I'm just taking some shots of the reeds and I'm getting the whiteness of the algae in the background. I've tried the swirl technique. I've tried the vertical technique. I've tried the vertical and shake technique. what other techniques is there, Rona? But I'm also shooting into this. There's a bunch of reeds beside me that's got with water, and I'm getting quite a nice blue effect off the water, so I'm getting a gradient between green, blue, the sandy reeds, and then also the white loch. But the problem I've got is my horizon's not straight. But then I suppose, oh, that's nice. With this style of photography, it doesn't matter if your horizon's straight. So the other thing I'm finding is, because I've taken some shots, I'm used to everything in the frame. So if I'm taking a shot and half the trees are cut off, that's weird. So I'm trying to make sure I've got the tops of the trees in, but it doesn't quite look the same.
And sometimes it's difficult to do.
Yeah.
Shutter speed.
So we'll keep moving, and we'll see what more we can find around the loch. So we've just stopped again at the side of the loch, and what we're doing is there's a tree with reflections into the water, and it's actually really nice. In fact, I've upped that shutter speed by to a second, which was wrong. Yeah, that's better. Wow. That actually, the further away you are with a zoom, you get like a reflection. Yep. Rather than being too close. So what we're doing is there's a tree overhanging the water. The sun's behind the tree, but there's amazing reflections on the water. And we're using the backlit leaves to try and get some images. And we're working from the top down instead of bottom up. But I'll try some bottom up shots and see what they look like. It's quite nice because it gives me a bit of a frame. Now I'm doing vertical shots where sometimes have a shake, but I haven't done any rotations yet. The rotations kind of make it scattery. That's different, that. So you get a completely different effect. That's quite nice. So what I'm noticing is when you zoom straight in and you try and do the turns, it doesn't really have a big effect, but when you zoom back out, you get the full motion, the circular effect that you're trying to achieve. Well, that's quite dramatic with the tree. Yep, there's some nice images here. Well, there's some nice images that look nice in the back of the camera. We don't know what they'll really look like, but the colours of this particular area is quite nice, especially for me, because I've got blues and yellows and browns and greens, whereas Rona's got her ND filter on, so it's okay for Rona. I'm trying to avoid shooting into the sun. I keep changing my focal length just to see the different effects that we get, and it's actually it's really nice. Oh, we'll move into that. Rona's kindly going to walk forward because we've got this tree as a dark canopy, and when we do the twist effect, it looks as though Rona's going to be walking into a portal. So if Rona walks, we'll test this theory out and see if this is actually going to work. And I'll just Brilliant, thanks Rona. So if I just try and show you the image in the back of the camera that I managed to get, I'll just try and get that square, then that's the image that we've just captured. So we've walked round the corner and we've seen this beautiful orange rusty ochre tree. I'm saying rusty because that's what my wife Caroline would call it, rusty. So we've just been experimenting with our zooms and the shake effects, and it's because of the colours it's coming up really nice. And Rona's been getting me to practice the fast vertical shots and then holding it. And then we've also done a side panoramic view, which has come up with a really nice portrait image. And I'll share all these as we go along. So, I think we'll end the video here. I'd like to say a big huge thanks to Rona for teaching me this morning how to do ICM, which, if you're just joining, is intentional camera movement. I had no idea how difficult, well it's not difficult, but how complex it can be. Because it's not just a case of how you move your camera, whether you rotate, whether you shake, vertical, horizontal. You also have to be aware of all the colours. And now I know that when I see Rona's images on Instagram, the effort that Rona's put into getting these images right. So thanks very much again, Rona.
It's been a lot of fun.
That was really, really helpful. And I will try, the next time I'm out while I'm doing landscapes, I'll try and do some ICM and see how that turns out. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thank you, and here's to the next video.